Before sunrise in Minneapolis, investigators uncovered an alleged criminal network so large that it raised urgent questions about trust, security, and who is truly watching the gates. At 4:12 a.m. in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the streets were silent and covered in winter cold. Inside a federal command center, the silence felt heavy rather than calm. A massive digital map glowed on the wall, filled with red markers spreading across the country. For months, federal agents had been tracking a pattern they could no longer ignore. Crime statistics tied to a Somali-linked network were rising at alarming rates. Drug arrests were reportedly up more than 300% in some areas. Violent assaults and trafficking cases had surged in multiple cities. Hospitals, police departments, and social service offices all reported the same trend. Different cases, different cities, but the same names kept appearing. What investigators were about to uncover went far beyond street crime. As analysts examined financial records, the numbers became staggering. Authorities confirmed more than $1 billion in welfare fraud, with estimates suggesting the real number could be far higher over a decade. The alleged pattern was consistent. Individuals entered the United States using false or manipulated documents. They enrolled in public assistance programs meant to help vulnerable people. The money was then transferred overseas through layered financial systems. Investigators said the final destination of some funds appeared connected to Al-Shabaab, a terrorist organization linked to Al-Qaeda. At that point, the case was no longer just fraud. It became a national security concern. Then the drug pipeline came into focus. Authorities believed drugs and weapons flowed back into the United States along the same routes. Methamphetamine and fentanyl were reportedly manufactured overseas, routed through Mexico, and distributed in American cities by organized groups. With the drugs came violence. Police reports described ambushes, armed confrontations, and shootings tied to the same network. In one case, a police officer was critically injured during a nighttime ambush. Investigators later linked the suspect to the same financial and logistical structure. Federal agents began to see the network as a single system. Money moved out, drugs and weapons moved in, violence followed both. Then intelligence analysts saw a name that changed everything. According to investigators, repeated data points led back to Rami Farah, identified as a Somali diplomat under US watch at the time. Authorities allege that his position and access may have been exploited to shield illicit activity. If true, this meant a foreign diplomatic presence was being used as cover rather than protection. Agents stressed that these findings were part of an ongoing investigation and represented allegations supported by documents, surveillance, and financial records. Still, the implications were severe. When agents turned their attention to the diplomatic offices, the picture darkened fast. Surveillance revealed more than 140 secret nighttime deliveries over 6 months. None appeared in official logs. Trucks arrived after midnight. The lights stayed on through the night. Packages were moved without customs clearance. Trash searches revealed shredded immigration forms, destroyed SIM cards, and envelopes from money transfer companies. Inside hidden cabinets, agents later found fake passports and identification documents tied to individuals arrested for violent crimes. One woman using a false identity allegedly collected tens of thousands of dollars in welfare benefits while working at a nightclub tied to trafficking. Violence followed the same group wherever it operated. Investigators reached a hard conclusion that could not be ignored. Federal analysts stated that this was not immigration misuse. It was an organized infiltration. The network was structured, financed, and protected from inside the system. It was also growing faster than law enforcement could comfortably track. At 4:05 a.m., a message moved across encrypted radios. All units were ordered to execute. What followed was one of the largest coordinated operations of its kind. More than 900 federal agents moved at once. FBI, Homeland Security, state police, and local deputies joined the operation. The goal was clear: break the network before dawn. Across multiple cities, 41 locations were raided. At one safe house, agents encountered an armed suspect attempting to flee. A flashbang was deployed and the suspect was taken into custody. Inside, agents found stacks of cash, foil-wrapped phones, and tables covered with documents. Elsewhere, a warehouse raid uncovered over 580 pounds of narcotics, including fentanyl and meth. The estimated street value reached tens of millions of dollars. The most dangerous moments were still unfolding. On a major highway, a delivery truck attempted to break through a roadblock. Agents disabled the vehicle after it failed to stop. Inside the truck were duffel bags filled with weapons, many with serial numbers removed. At an industrial yard, armed suspects opened fire from a rooftop position. Federal teams advanced carefully using shields. After a tense exchange, both suspects surrendered. By 5:20 a.m., the first wave of raids was complete. 87 suspects were detained. Millions in cash, weapons, and drugs were seized. No civilians were harmed. One location remained untouched, and it was the most sensitive of all. Near a government district stood a two-story brick building listed as a Somali Commercial Coordination Office. To the public, it looked ordinary. To investigators, it was the heart of the operation. The building was not covered by full diplomatic immunity. With proper authorization, agents are prepared to enter. Surveillance showed activity inside even as the city went about its morning. At 10:19 a.m., breach teams moved in. A controlled charge opened the rear entrance. Agents rushed through the corridors. Inside, individuals attempted to destroy evidence, but the agents stopped them in time. What they found inside rewrote the case. The office contained no signs of legitimate diplomacy. There were no cultural materials or policy documents. Instead, agents found binders of identity records, spreadsheets of bank transfers, and envelopes of cash. Behind a false wall, they discovered 7 servers actively transmitting data overseas. Forensic teams later traced transmissions through multiple countries and into private accounts linked to the same network. Blue folders lined a cabinet, each filled with thousands of names, phone numbers, addresses, and benefit accounts. Each name carried a status label such as arrived, processing, or sent. A ledger on a desk recorded monthly totals and transfers. At the bottom of one page was a handwritten note referencing a percentage allegedly sent to Al-Shahab. Investigators now had something they had never had before. With the embassy office secured, analysts finally had a complete map. The documents revealed shell companies posing as logistic and import businesses across the country. Many were empty storefronts. Their bank accounts were anything but empty. At one location, agents found $1.8 million in cash locked inside safes bolted to concrete floors. Records showed the money originated from public assistance programs. Another site appeared to be a furniture warehouse. Inside furniture frames, agents found sealed packets of fentanyl. A different location, disguised as a supplement factory, contained pill presses capable of producing massive quantities of fake medication. The digital evidence confirmed the worst fears. Forensic analysis showed funds moving through dozens of small transfers to avoid detection. Public benefits flowed into shell companies. Shell companies sent money overseas. A portion allegedly funded terrorism. In the past 3 years alone, investigators linked the network to robberies, shootings, kidnappings, and multiple homicide investigations. These were not random crimes. They were tied to profit and intimidation. By afternoon, the investigation reached the highest levels of government. A secure briefing was held in Washington. Officials concluded this was not a local crime wave. It was a national security infiltration. For many Americans, the reality still felt distant. Neighborhoods affected by the network told a different story. Violence spread into suburbs once considered safe. Businesses closed early. Families avoided public spaces. Hospitals reported spikes in overdoses linked to contaminated pills. Emergency services responded to the same streets again and again. By the end of the day, investigators estimated more than $8 billion in taxpayer losses over a decade. The financial damage was enormous. The human cost was worse. This case stands as a warning that security begins with awareness, and silence is the one thing danger depends on most.